All right.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. If you're watching live, and if you're watching the replay, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is an exciting additional episode of Tech Tuesdays. I am Jeffry Ullman, Director of Membership and Partnership with the South Florida Tech Hub. Tech Tuesdays is a joint effort between South Florida Tech Hub and the Owwll App. If you don't have the Owwll App, you can go ahead and download it now. I'm available on the Owwll App in my office hours, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We'll talk a little more about the Owwll App with our guest. But so I'm a history buff, and today is Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. When the history of this year is written, there'll be three things that happen today. One is the election of a new president. The second one is two things. The election of a new president, and historians will look back on this Tech Tuesday as an outstanding event. I really messed up that joke, by the way. Sorry about that. Anyway,
we're all waiting for it.
I really messed that up. Anyway,
the punchline.
Yeah, we're live. I apologize. We're a few minutes late because we are live and in person. So thank you for joining us. Couple of quick announcements, and then I'm going to turn it over to Denis, introduce himself, and he'll introduce our guest. So South Florida Tech Hub has 4 core pillars: brand, community, entrepreneurship, startups, and tech talent. We have 2 events coming up. Next week, Thursday, November 14th, is our annual event for entrepreneurship and startups called Ignite. It's going to be again Thursday, November 14th at the Boca Raton Innovation Center here in sunny Boca Raton. If you haven't been to the venue, it's an amazing venue. In terms of tech talent, which is also one of our core pillars, we're having our annual Tech Talent Fest. It's going to be Monday, November 18th. Our keynote speaker is going to be the author of this book, LinkedIn Profile Optimization for Dummies, by Donna Sardula. Great speaker. She's going to be there. You can meet her live and in person. I'll be there. You can meet me live and in person as well. So please attend our events. They're out on Eventbrite. If you've got any questions, you can reach me on the Owwll App, LinkedIn, or through Eventbrite. So I think that's enough for me. And again, apologies. The joke was much better in my head than I delivered it. So
right.
I'm going to let Denis go, introduce himself, and then introduce our guest.
Thanks for the intro, Jeffrey. Great and exciting again to be here at the Tech Tuesdays. We have very exciting and interesting guests today. We have Fernando from South Florida Manufacturing Alliance Association. And we have Kevin from FAU, right?
No,
Kevin's the ghost.
He was going to be here.
Oh, okay.
Fernando and Matt.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. So as far as South Florida Manufacturing Association, Fernando, why don't you give us a little bit of introduction about yourself, your position there, and just about the organization in itself, and then we'll get in a little deeper into the ideas.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for having me. So my name is Fernando Mendoza, and I am one of the business advisors that is associated and works with and for the SFMA, or the South Florida Manufacturing Association. I am proud to be an American, but originally I was born in Venezuela, and I've been here in the States for about 20 years now. I've been in manufacturing all my life. Started about 20 and change years ago doing that back home in a couple different interesting industries. Started in plastic molding, then moved into food and packaging. Came up here to seek something better. And I moved into New York, where with my wife we decided to try to be here and live the American dream, and we've been doing it. I'm very happy to be a part of the association and to apply my skills. Right, I'm an engineer by trade, always focused on process improvement, making things better, integrating technology into a business, with the outlook of always making people's lives easier. Because yes, you need to make money. That's what businesses are for. But there should be something more, right? It's not just about the money. It's also about the people that work there. It's very important. That's why the great mission of what the SFMA does in conjunction with the MEP of the state, and I'll get into that in a second, is to help manufacturing companies in the state of Florida, specifically for us, South Florida, grow. And that means growing in every sense of the word, right? Employees, talent, work skills, technology, GDP, obviously sales and revenue. We do that in many different ways. And, before I go too deep into it, I want to just make a call out to my boss, Mr. Matthew Rocco, who I'd love for him to introduce himself, talk a little bit about his side of the organization, and then I'll get back into what I was just talking about, the MEP, FloridaMakes, and what the whole thing, is doing for the manufacturing community.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Fernando, and good to be with you all. And thanks for having us. For us, it's a real exciting time. My name is Matt Rocco, president of the South Florida Manufacturing Association, often referred to as SFMA, but I don't like to use acronyms because no one knows what those are, right? Until you figure out what they are. But, it's an interesting time for us because, manufacturing over the last 10 years has grown exponentially. A study came out at the end of last year, beginning of this year, with some interesting data. In our region, we cover as far south as Homestead and as far north as Vero Beach. For all of you that are listening out there, you may wonder, is really Florida a manufacturing state? Well, in fact, Florida is now the 10th largest state in the U.S. for manufacturing. In our region, and I'll just use South Florida, Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, those three counties alone have about 6,000 or so manufacturing companies. So a lot of people that are listening may go, wait a second, 6,000 manufacturing companies. In fact, that amount of manufacturers is actually larger than some states have as a whole.
Yeah.
The manufacturing varies in size. I mean, we've been in one day, we could be in a manufacturer that has 8 people that work there. And then a couple hours later, we're in a company that has a couple hundred manufacturers there. Right here, as everyone can see, Celsius, that is here locally in Boca Raton. Stryker is a medical device manufacturer. They're in Weston. They're global. So it spans from marine, spans to medical device, printing, fabrication. So
yeah, that
was
going to be one of my questions as far as like the vertical inside manufacturing. What industry seems to be the more popular that brings their manufacturing of products into South Florida? Is it specific?
Not one specific.
If I may, one of the first questions I asked when I joined the team, I said, well, what is our biggest target, right? Are we going after fabricators? Are we going after medical manufacturers? Are we going after pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals? And the answer was, well, all of the above. It's such an interesting mix. You have everything from food production to packaging to aerospace to defense work to textiles, literally every industry. And that is what makes Florida and South Florida such an interesting state, right? And when you look at and think about those metrics that Matthew was talking about just now, out of those 6,000, and that's just in South Florida, 80% of those guys are 25 employees or fewer. So smaller companies that make up of our economy, right? And then you think about this and you're looking at, well, it's the 10th largest state in GDP in the U.S. for manufacturing. What does that compare to when we talk about what Florida is known for, right? Tourism, beach, Disney, whatever you want to say about it, except, necessarily manufacturing. And that conversation has been changing over the years, and it's great, right? And it's because there is so much of a cyclical economy here where people don't need to import so much. And this is both right inside of the U.S. and outside from the U.S. because everything is here. You can buy everything from your local people because they make it all, right?
Just up the road in West Palm Beach, there's a newer manufacturer called Gummy Works. They're manufacturing vitamin gummies. They're going to grow into a couple hundred people. They're aiming to be the largest U.S. manufacturer of gummies right here in South Florida. It's, as Fernando mentioned, it's across the board. Some areas of the country are known for specific things.
Yeah,
we're so diverse, and I think that's a testament to really where Florida is. We're so diverse as it is, and I'm sure you see within tech, right? There's
Absolutely.
so many different areas within tech. It's just not one leading thing.
And
Right.
as far as the climate goes in Florida, now some manufacturers gravitate towards Florida because it's helpful for their manufacturing environment or climate with the weather in Florida, or it's just booming economy in Florida. That's why they're moving in with the lifestyle and just a lot
Probably
of
more,
people.
probably more business
Is-
climate than real
Business
climate, right?
you know, lifestyle. I mean, there's several companies from the Northeast that are,
Mhm.
you know, facing certain issues, whatever it might be economically up there, but they come down here and, you know, there's a good business climate. I think our economic development organizations in each counties do a great job, right? Working with the companies as well. So it's a good-
Yeah, there's a couple things, right? When you look at the state as a whole, we might not have all these fancy incentives that things like, you know, places like Texas and the Carolinas have. However, right, you have things that are potentially better. You have the second largest defense economy in the U.S. You have the largest ports in the Eastern Seaboard right here. You have, again, that diversity of manufacturing and workforce development is a huge part of what the South Florida Manufacturing Association has been trying to do in succeeding is in linking the government with education and industry, because that's the only way you really win at what we're trying to do, right?
Mhm.
You need the people to power, you know, your companies, to fuel everything else that happens within a country. And for us, a state, and again, you know, in a micro level, these three counties that are the biggest ones we focus on right now.
And put it this way, the GDP for manufacturing from 14 to the last current data, it grew from about 42-ish billion dollars. Now it's $77 billion. That's a big growth rate in a span of 9-10 years. So yeah, that's close to a 50% growth rate. So there's a lot happening here that, you know, I'm really glad you having us on, because a lot that people might not realize.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess I have a two-part question. I just one comment in that I've lived and worked in South Florida for 30 years. And the way I had gotten involved with South Florida Manufacturers Association is I always saw these articles about this new manufacturer, and it's like, really, South Florida?
Yeah.
So I would, even having lived here for 30 years, I was not aware of all the breadth and depth of the manufacturing, and that's kind of what got me interested, excuse me, in South Florida Manufacturing Association. So I have a two-part question for you. If people want to follow up, which I'm sure they are, Fernando, why don't you go ahead and spell out your website? And then you mentioned another organization called FloridaMakes. Why don't you talk a little more of what your relationship with FloridaMakes? So that's a two-part question.
Sure. So, you know, there's I guess a couple different ways to get in touch with us. Obviously through the Owwll app. My hours of office are up on there. I think it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, at specific times. But, you know, if you can't get me on that one, just leave me a note and I'll get back to you. Manufacturing is a very large and broad term. So when you think about this and you're trying to consider, well, do I manufacture? Do I qualify to talk to these guys and have them help us? And we'll get into that in a second. The answer is just give us a call, because everything from actual fabrication and making something to warehouse management, distribution, and logistics. And now, as of earlier this year, pretty much every MRO side of repair, maintenance, and overhaul stuff qualifies as a manufacturer to be able to receive our assistance, right?
Interesting.
So,
that's
the
kind
way-
of like remanufacturing, correct?
correct.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah, fixing, putting everything back together, doing, you know, preventive maintenance and just maintenance of everything that gets worn out in bits and pieces. And so the other way to get a hold of us would be through the association's website, which is the SFMA.org. So South Florida Manufacturing Association, but just the acronym, and that's SFMA.org. Very easy to get on there. You can see a lot of different events, stuff that's going on. And then you can just drop us a note and our awesome team will get back to you ASAP. To your second question, FloridaMakes. And, you know, it's a critical part of what we do. You know, in the United States, there is let's call it an organization that is the MEP, as I mentioned. And so
What does that acronym stand for?
right, that's the Manufacturing Extension Partnership Network. And what that is basically is organizations that are based out of every state, including one in Puerto Rico. And the one here in Florida is called FloridaMakes. Florida Makes, in our case, partners up with the different regional manufacturing associations around the state, like the South Florida Manufacturing Association, to help provide resources, right? In our case, it's resources on personnel. So while I work for the SFMA, the South Florida Manufacturing Association, I am a resource basically provided by Florida Makes. And Florida Makes is a line of spend in the Department of Commerce, right? They're funded by a grant administered by NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And their mission is identical to the South Florida Manufacturing Association. It's to help manufacturers grow in the state of Florida. And the grow, again, is in every sense of the word: people, technology, process, GDP, revenue, et cetera.
You mentioned the MRO, maintenance repair organizations. Overhaul, excuse me. I even got the acronym wrong. So I had worked at IBM for a while, and I worked in the travel and transportation vertical. And you might not, and I didn't realize till I worked there, just like you might not realize South Florida is really a strong hub for manufacturing. The maintenance repair overhaul industry, very, very large industry in South Florida. Oh, yeah. So that's another area that's related to manufacturing that you might not be aware of, is falls within your purview.
Yeah. And one quick thing before I have to unfortunately depart, and I'm really glad Fernando's here, want to come support him, with the MEP, and we're going to, I'm sure, get into it a little bit later. The work we're doing with manufacturers out there, and if there's anybody that is a manufacturer, this is going to be a pretty interesting statistic for you. But if you're not a manufacturer out there and you work with manufacturers, this is going to be great for you to be a resource to your clients. So all the great work that Fernando does, and we have 2 other business advisors, the outstanding work that they're doing every week, they're in multiple manufacturers a week, right? They all get surveyed, right, after a certain period of time, once Fernando engages with them, because it's all about the impact. And that's how Florida Makes gets funded, really primarily a lot on the impact. But our relationship with Florida Makes started in 2016. So through 2016, through Q2 of this year, the impact is over $2.5 billion, with a B, not million, $1 billion of impact. So the work that's out there is phenomenal. So another reason why, hey, why would a manufacturer want to come to right. Florida? Well, you're going to get a lot of resources, not only from the regional association, but through Florida Makes as well. So it's a good thing. And one other thing I know we're going to touch on is the Manufacturer of the Year award process. So that's another thing that we do for manufacturers. So there's a lot going on. We have our annual meeting and showcase happening Thursday. It's sold out. It's closed, but I've got to run to go help the team prepare for that. But this is a great thing, and I'm glad you're on. Yeah.
Thanks for
having us, Matt. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Fernando, I have like a follow-up question while we're talking about, as far as my business, it's a digital agency, and we work with many manufacturing on the marketing side. We help them promote the brand, help them get new customers. If other vendors, if other companies which are not the manufacturers themselves, how can they get involved to network with other manufacturing companies? And do you guys have this ability where other industries aside from manufacturers can come in and meet your members? What are some of the resources available?
Yeah, so a big part of the way we do our impacts, right? And we realize all these numbers that Matt was talking about, $2.5 billion in 7 change years is quite a bit of money. So how the heck do you even do that, right? Well, it's creating community. It's understanding that we're not making this and doing this alone. It's not like I'm a genius that goes in and decides how to fix the world's problem. I try, right? But the idea is that we basically leverage smarter people and better companies than ours to come in and help the community, right? Give you a quick example. We had a plant tour at a really interesting dock manufacturer in Pompano, and at that event, they made a connection with somebody, sold them a bunch of different products right there and then. So that was about $100,000 worth of a business on a meeting that happened thanks to the stuff that the SFMA is doing with its members. But we partner up with so many companies and so many organizations around the state because it's important. It's resources that not everybody knows how to access. Not everybody knows that you can call the SBA or the SBDC and get, free consulting services, right? Not everybody knows that there are a ton of community banks out there trying to help the smaller companies. Because yes, we work with massive companies like Lockheed, Nestle, but we also work with very small companies like TradePack, right? Very small, very interesting company that does food packaging. So there's a lot of things and ways to get involved. The easiest way I would say, like I said earlier, either message me on the Owwll app or through the website to see how you can get involved. The idea is that we're creating stronger ties to the community, and that is the most important thing. It's all about a cyclical economy because South Florida can actually support that, right? A lot of the reasons why you see something like the Rust Belt and Detroit and the things that are happening there, and it's changing because it has to. You don't get that sort of just one track mind type deal in South Florida. It's a melting pot. You have everything. I mean, we make everything from rockets to implants. I mean, you just think about it. It's kind of crazy. Yep. So that's how you can get involved. You talk to us, you see how you fit in, right? And then, as I go to these companies and I start talking to them, the first thing that I ask is always, what are your challenges, right? Because the easiest way to get involved is an assessment, understanding, what are some of their challenges, what are some of the opportunities that are there, what are they trying to do about it, and then we come up with solutions that fit whatever it is that they're looking to do. It could be a low cost, no cost. It could be something that's linked on ROI or CapEx. Basically, it needs to make sense because we're not consulting as a typical consulting word, right? It's more helping them grow because that's all about the impact. And that's why we want to go back in a year and say, hi, did the stuff that you do with Fernando, FloridaMakes, and the South Florida Manufacturing Association do anything for you this year? And we hope that the answer is yes. And we make sure the answer is yes by making, informed decisions and leveraging not just, 20 years worth of expertise on my side, but also all the connections that we have with the local, economic development chambers, with the cities, and so the engagements can be wildly just divergent. Anything from, listen, I have an issue with my permitting and I can't get this thing up and running and it's costing me a bunch of money because my machines aren't online, to I would like to sell my business and I need an expert in M&A to come in and do the work. And so it's like, yep, we can do that.
And you probably have resources for like career development, like somebody looking for a job in manufacturing or a sales manager.
So we do. So, okay, we partner with companies that can do that. So the short answer is yes. However, we're not a staffing agency. We don't place people in jobs. But right, if I'm at a company and they're talking to me and they say, listen, I'm looking for this type of engineer. And we talk to the staffing agencies, for example, Randstad is a huge member contributor of ours. I can call on them and say, hey, do you have anybody that can fit this bill? Right. And the answer is yes. Fantastic.
Great.
So we're going to switch gears a little. I announced a new feature of Tech Tuesdays last week. We're going to check in with some of our previous guest experts of the day and get an update from them and see what their experience has been with the Owwll app. So I'm going to try to reach out to Robert Deck. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, Robert was on our show. He has a staffing company, but also launched an AI company for social media that helps you comment on different posts, different comments, interactive social media communication. So it's pretty interesting.
Super interesting.
Yeah. And so if manufacturers looking to get more brand awareness or just get active on LinkedIn, he has a widget, like a plugin that allows you to quickly jump in and get part of the conversation. It's interesting.
Very.
And then I'll have a follow-up question for you about AI as we maybe after the call.
Yeah.
All right. I
don't mean to interrupt. We are live. Robert might be in the bathroom again. Can't take the call. So I'm going to try someone else.
That's right.
Keep going, Dennis. Thank you.
Yeah. So Fernando, as far as AI, it's a big wave right now and the trend. As part of continuing education, do you guys put on some kind of events for the manufacturing association members to get up to date with AI technologies? Are you thinking that's a good idea, or do you do anything like this right now?
Definitely. So the association is always doing different events. You heard about the annual dinner that is this Thursday, where we're going to be basically showcasing things made in South Florida, which is a great event and a great way to have people not necessarily do a trade show, because that's not really the tone of it. It's more having the companies and employees be there and say, "I made this. Right? I'm proud that I fabricated this thing."
What do I do here? Oh, there you go. Thank you.
And so things like that are always going on, and the education part is huge. You don't know what you don't know. And as we look at technology, and we look at the changes that are coming down, AI is just going to be there no matter what you do. I mean, you can stick your hand in the sand if you'd like, and it is what it is. Obviously, everybody does what they want, but we want to make sure that we're providing these tools for manufacturers to understand what's coming. So everything from AI to the use of I don't know, things like R&D taxes and the different apprenticeships that you can create, what rules and regulations are changing in the business environment, specifically in Florida and in the greater U.S., things like cybersecurity, the different accreditations that you're going to need if you're playing in one field or another.
Excuse me.
We have Jeb.
Jeb, are you there?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, Jeb, I'm required by the state of Florida and the Federal Trade Commission to get your okay that we're recording you and broadcasting you to the free world. You okay with that?
You have my okay. Absolutely.
Now that we've got the legal stuff away. So, Jeb, thanks for taking the call. We announced a new feature last week. You were a previous expert of the day, and we wanted to check in with you and see a couple of things. We had talked previously that you are a user of the Owwll App. So why don't you tell us a little of what's new with you in Centuric and how you've used the Owwll App?
Yeah, and thank you for the invitation. It was nice to be an expert for one day. Well,
I consider you an expert today as well.
All right. Well, then I appreciate that as well.
You're back on the show.
I've been on the and hello, Denis and Fernando. I've been using the Owwll App for a few weeks now since I was on the show a few weeks ago, and it's been a very warm community. I was surprised at how many people reached out to me just to connect, people from across the country, from across industries and disciplines. And one example I'll give that I enjoyed very much was I had someone who was starting up a new company, and he was in the first stages, and he was looking to basically bring on an entry-level sales staff. And so he went on the network and he saw that I had put in my description that I was a career business development person and salesperson in technology, and he wanted to get my advice on what he might have to offer to get a good salesperson in there to get started selling his product. And we ended up having we used up the full 10 minutes of that conversation, and we just had a great talk. And I did have I believe some good insights for him, and he seemed really happy. And I made a new connection that way.
Right.
So and I just also think that it's really easy to navigate the app as well. So I really like that. You go on, you see who's available, you see their picture, you see their description, who they are, where they are, and it's just such a great way to make new connections. Makes it really, really easy. Of course, we all are used to LinkedIn, but LinkedIn doesn't give you that ability to really connect with people on a phone call or to really network on the platform. So thanks to Owwll and Jason for bringing that to us.
Thank you for that update. What's new with Centuric since you were on?
Well, I wouldn't say there's much that's new. We are still plugging away at keeping our customers' networks secure. We are cybersecurity and fully managed IT services company, so they keep us busy with everything from updating everyone's devices and making sure that everything is secure, all the way down to resetting people's passwords. So we are keeping busy doing that. I, of course, as the business development person, spend a lot of time, going to events and that kind of thing. And I can tell you that we will be we will have a booth at the SFMA event coming up on Thursday. I'm looking forward to that very much. So, and I believe Jeffrey, you're going to be there with me.
I will be there
So,
live and in person.
so
So
that's what's new. We're going to be there at the Charles Dodge Center in Pembroke Pines, and if that's a good place to come see all of us in one place.
yes, and if anyone is going to be attending, definitely come by the Centuric booth. I'll be there with Jeb live and in person, and we'll get to meet. So thank you for that, Jeb. Any thoughts or questions for Jeb?
Yeah,
Dennis?
just main question, Jeb. What was the catch of the week last week? Because I know we spoke a little bit about fishing with you. And
Just to be clear, let me back up. FISHING, not PHISING.
anything interesting?
I am an expert in both, just for the record.
Okay. Double pun
I've been
intended.
Right. I haven't been, Dennis. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I have been, doing a lot of driving and volunteering on the weekends, and I have not actually been fishing in some time. So you will be the first person that I send a picture to the next time I catch a fish.
You better. Okay, well,
So
thanks.
anybody that fishes, FISH, find the replay with Jeb a couple of weeks ago, or reach out to me and I'll send you the link. We spent a lot of time on FISHING in South Florida, and some time on PHISHING, which is a bad thing. Jeb, I forgot. Is your upcoming music event, has it happened or is it still upcoming?
No, it is still upcoming. It is December 5th, and that is a professional networking event. I'm trying something new. The theme is basically, if you play an instrument, you can come and play along with the band. But it is not just for musicians. It's for anybody looking to network and have a little bit of fun. It's at Marquee Studio from 5 to 8 on December 5th.
Thank you. Just totally random, given my time in the IT industry, and Jeb and I were talking about this, it seems like a lot of highly technical IT people are also musicians. And I think there's a correlation to being a musician and a highly technical person. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I think that exists. So Jeb is very active.
I'm not sure either. Yeah, that's it. And that was kind of what prompted me to begin this networking series, which I hope it will become. As I am not a highly technical person. I'm a medium technical person.
You're not giving yourself credit, Jeb.
Well, thank you. I have highly technical people that work for me behind me, my team. But they are much more technical than I am. But yeah, it does seem there's some kind of correlation. A lot of musicians in the tech industry, and I've made some of my current bands who will be hosting that event in December. I met all of them through Tech Hub, as a matter of fact, and so some of these people have not just become colleagues, but also my very good friends and bandmates. So yes, apparently there's a lot of music going on in the tech industry.
Right, and from my experience with Owwll, there are a lot of people on the Owwll app that are artistic, musically inclined. So you might want to reach out to Jeb, even if to have a music-related conversation. Reach out to Jeb on Owwll or LinkedIn or through Centuric. We've got a couple of minutes, Jeb. Fernando, any questions or thoughts with Jeb?
No, I'm looking forward to seeing you, Jeb. As usual, it's always a pleasure talking to you. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on with cyber and CMMC. December 16 is an interesting date. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Why don't you promote? Is that a separate event or what is that? Talk about that.
So December 16 is the rumored date when CMMC compliance will go into effect.
And what does that acronym stand for?
So, I mean, I can let Jeb just go into the full acronym, but
okay.
At the end of the day, and in a nutshell for everybody listening, is the requirements for companies to do business with the Department of Defense and some aspects of the government. It's a very important compliance requirement that has been floating around the wind for what, Jeb, 2 years now, more or less?
Yes, it keeps getting pushed back, but
it
looks like it is happening now.
Well, we'll see. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it finally just kind of gets done with it, so people can actually do it and not live in limbo. But that's just
so. Jeb, I'm assuming Centuric provides assistance and consulting services to achieve that compliance.
Yeah. So what Fernando has mentioned, thank you, Fernando, is basically coming up very soon. It's been pushed back a couple times, but manufacturers who want to do business with government agencies are going to be held to a higher standard and will need to comply with more robust standards, security standards, in order to do that. And so this is absolutely exactly what we do. This is cybersecurity. This is compliance. These are our primary functions for our customers, in addition to managing their day-to-day infrastructure and IT problems. Uh, Getting people ready for this compliance is absolutely one of our primary services, and so that's a big reason why we work with the Manufacturers Association. Is
Right.
a lot of these manufacturers are going to be going through that over the next couple of years.
Okay, Jeb, we've got 30 seconds or so. Thank you for being a supporter, and thank you for taking the call, and I'll see you on Thursday.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you
All right.
Thursday.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care. So, Fernando, a quick question for you. I recently moved here from Pennsylvania, and I was involved with Pennsylvania Manufacturing Alliance. That's what it was called. It was the Bucks County Alliance. I don't know if you heard of this.
Yeah.
But companies that are looking to migrate south, to Florida, or maybe they're looking to open like a satellite branch or manufacturing operations here, does your organization help out with that to kind of establish a second or third satellite location and maybe eventually migrate because of the benefits that Florida offers?
Yeah, for sure. It's a huge part of what we do. Obviously there's two ways to sustain, right, this growth that we've been seeing, and a lot of it had to do with the amount of companies that migrated south during and right after COVID, and still now, for a better business climate. And so we, like I said, we partner up with a lot of the cities, the EDCs, the Economic Development Councils, to say, okay, company X is trying to move here. What is the best spot for them that has ancillary services, related industries, the talent that they're looking for? We all know that housing is an issue down here.
Yeah.
And so you don't want people to, create and bring their hub to Palm Beach, and then all their employees and the demographic that they need to work in there be somewhere in Miami. Like that's not gonna fly, right? It'll maybe work for a month, and then everybody will quit. So we want to make sure that we are providing all of those aspects. So 100%, we work with a lot of companies trying to relocate here, find the best spot, understand what are the conditions, what is the demographic in the area they're looking at, what does real estate look like, what is available, and all of that. So yes, 100%.
Great. And as far as Boca Raton area, is that manufacturing friendly in general?
Boca is pretty interesting. Boca has a lot of old school manufacturing, but it's been changing dramatically over the last years. There's a lot of medical manufacturing and pharmaceutical, nutraceutical stuff being done there, but you still find your typical sort of car shops and repair places. There's a ton of boating industry, mostly in the repair yards in Boca. Again, right access to the water, a lot of great marinas. So it's a huge hub. Definitely, Boca is a really impressive space for manufacturing.
So, excuse me, Fernando. Ashton, is that you?
It is. Can you hear me okay?
I can. I'm required by the state of Florida and the Federal Trade Commission to get your okay to broadcast your voice and image throughout the free world. Do you accept the offer, Mr. Phelps?
Permission granted.
If you don't get the reference, call me on Al. So I don't know if you were able to watch earlier, Ashton, but we talked a little about the Tech Talent Challenge, not only in general in the industry, but specifically to manufacturing. So I had mentioned the upcoming Tech Talent Fest. Can you talk a little more about Tech Hub's pillar focus with Tech Talent and the upcoming event?
Absolutely. And I did indeed watch the live stream.
Okay.
And
thank you.
I was inspired, and I also learned a lot from the discussion. So thank you all for having that. And a lot of it, I think, is tied really closely to what we do from a talent aspect. So for those of you that aren't familiar, I know Jeffrey mentioned our core pillar of talent. And so what Tech Hub does we work with and collaborate with our over 160 member and strategic partners to connect with higher ed, K through 12, and boot camps to really help facilitate the tech talent pipeline. So there are specific events, like we do our SoFlo DevCon every year. We do our hackathon. I will speak on Tech Talent Fest in just a minute, but in addition to that, we do other small programming and we do different goals to really help enhance, provide awareness to the tech opportunities in South Florida and help students and job seekers get a leg up to just continue to facilitate a strong and robust tech talent ecosystem in South Florida. There's a myth that there's not talent here. And so we try to tackle that on a daily basis and provide the bridge between industry and also to education. And so one of the events that I love that I think highlights this most, as Jeffrey mentioned, we have Tech Talent Fest coming up on November 18th. So that is a Monday. And this year it's at FIU, so Florida International University. So during Tech Talent Fest, we'll be having programming. Donna Serdula was mentioned earlier as a LinkedIn expert that will be there. We also are going to be having panels. One is how to adapt to how to prepare students for the AI job shift. There's the intersection of AI, cyber, and cloud. There's a lot of different things, but I think one also to highlight is that one of our panels as well is specific to how AI is impacting industries and those that you may not always consider when you think of them. In manufacturing, we do have a representative from a manufacturing industry as well. And I think that's really critical because a lot of students in particular and just people looking for a career change don't realize that AI is impacting every single industry from manufacturing to journalism to agriculture. It's in everything. And so the more that we can prepare our students for that, the better. And so we will be having that programming that I mentioned. There also are exhibiting sponsors and hiring companies that will be doing hiring on site for internships and jobs, and also just promotion in general. And then in addition to that, we have workshops that will enable students and job seekers to learn more skills, everything from mastering Copilot to how to apply yourself to a different job, technical resume reviews. There's just a lot of different things, free headshots. So we're really looking forward to the event. I think one thing that's really important to note as well is that our talent events are free. So this is something that is very core to our values, and we're extremely dedicated to making sure that we provide these resources and opportunities for everyone, regardless of background. So it's something that we really love. As I mentioned, this is the first time that we're having the event in Miami. So Tech Hub, for those of you that don't know, represents Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, and even all the way up into the Treasure Coast. So we're really thrilled to be able to have it then, for the first time in Miami. We really, it's a good problem to have, but we're at a point where we're checking capacity to make sure we don't sell out.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, exactly. Good problem to have. It just shows, I think it's a testament to the event and also to our vibrant community that is looking to move up and to continue to enhance the pipeline. So even though it's free, there is a capacity. So definitely register for those that are on the call that haven't done so. There's an Eventbrite, so be sure to officially subscribe to the Eventbrite. You can find that on the South Florida Tech Hub website, directly in our events page. And also if you follow us on Eventbrite, it's all listed there, also on our LinkedIn channels and everything as well. So we're really looking forward to it and hope that everyone has the opportunity to come out. You're going to learn a lot. And also we do have a couple of extra sponsorship tables. So if there's anyone from manufacturing that is in the process of hiring, we would love to have a conversation with you as well to, get those jobs promoted in the hiring fair aspect.
Thank you. Couple of things to recap. And I'm glad you mentioned it. The event is free. So if you're a job seeker about to graduate and career transition, the actual event is free. It is out on Eventbrite. Do you happen to know, Ashton, who the person from the manufacturing vertical is gonna be there, and the company? Do you happen to remember that?
Not off the top of my
Okay.
head, but it is listed in the actual Eventbrite. So we
Okay.
have the full agenda and also the speakers, and we do have a promo with a video of all the speakers as well.
Right. So actually, this is kind of related to something you and I talked about, Fernando. So, like all industries, IT tech has changed industries. And, my wording, manufacturing jobs have become more technical. So oftentimes you do need IT tech skills sometimes to, work on a line with highly sophisticated equipment. So I don't know if you'd agree with that statement, or do you want to comment on that?
100%. So one of the things that people potentially don't necessarily realize is like we talk about AI and we think about, well, they're gonna write our shows and do the music and replace a bunch of people. But really, when you go deeper into it, and yes, all that is a concern, right? And we need to make sure that we're regulating this thing as much as possible so that it doesn't do damage. And create problems. But when you look at things like manufacturing and AI, going deeper into the technical aspect of it, you're absolutely right. Just 2 weeks ago or so, we were at FabTech in Orlando. It's the second largest manufacturing fair in the U.S. And the amount of AI that was being applied to robotics, just
Right.
on pretty much everything, right? From
Right.
welding to positioning to picking up to transitioning to making to managing a whole factory, right? With highly skilled people running these things, because you can't run this stuff without an actual tech to make sure that it's not doing silly things, that the programming is correct. So you're right? You need to skill people up. And
Right.
what does that mean? You're going to have better paid people, right? Doing less, let's say, quote unquote, dirty jobs, more interesting things. Because who doesn't want to go in there and operate a robot, creating, a spinal implant? I mean, it's really neat, right? And
Right.
it doesn't even need to be that complicated. You could be operating a robot making a zipper. It's still neat.
Absolutely. So my point is, I think oftentimes people don't get that connection.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you elaborating on that. Um,
Well, I think we should say thank you,
But
Ashton.
thank you, Ashton.
for calling
Thanks
in.
for calling in.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna try
Yeah.
Robert one more time, and then that might do it.
Yes, speaking of AI, Robert would be great. So, you still need the human element to prompt the AI
Oh, yeah.
to do things, even though people are saying, AI will completely take over the world. But I think in manufacturing, you still need the operators. It might replace some low-level jobs, like redundant jobs, which can be replaced
So-
by AI. But
So you're right, but I rather say it's going to upskill those jobs. The idea in the companies, and I'll be honest, the companies that do this successfully, they don't utilize tech to lay people off. They use tech to upskill them, give them a better position, better pay, better way of life, better quality. And those are the guys that are investing in the most important asset that they work with, and that's their
Right.
people.
Excuse me, Fernando. Robert, are you there?
Yeah, how are you? Jeff?
I'm good. Thanks for taking the call,
Yeah.
Robert.
You hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can. I thought it was interesting. Yeah, with the guest on there. I actually,
Robert, I'm going to interrupt you. Just want to, because just to make sure we have no lawyers calling us. Just want to make sure you're okay recording your voice and broadcasting it.
sure.
Okay,
Sure,
thank you.
absolutely.
Keep going.
Yep. So, one of our clients here at Engaged Partners is Sonny's Enterprises, and I know they're probably one of the manufacturers, maybe in Florida. I'm not sure about that, but I know that's we work hand in hand with them. So it's really interesting to me. I should probably talk to you, Fernando, about maybe doing business on the Owwll app.
Sure, for sure. And Sunny's is actually a member, and we work with them hand in hand. A lot of the their latest technological improvements and things that are going on with them, and they are a fascinating company.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing
they've come through
company.
the interactions that they've had with my partner Micah Doherty, who is in that region. So yes, we definitely know Sunny's. Really
Yeah,
interesting.
they're so ahead of that game in that industry. I mean, we were placing vision people with them and just all kinds of things that you wouldn't expect, I guess, a manufacturing company to be on top of. And they also have an amazing training program for people to go through, which is pretty cool. They have a, you know, really great company. I think if anyone's kind of maybe looking for, you know, for work, they do hire a lot of people. And I know obviously we put a lot of people in there every year, and it's really, they're just an amazing group of people.
So Robert, why don't we take a step back a little? We didn't let you introduce yourself. So tell us a little.
Sorry.
No, it was me. Tell us about you. Tell us about Click2 AI, and tell us about Engage. But before you do that, so this is a new feature, Robert. We're going to start calling previous experts of the day and check in with them. I think you were one of the first. Maybe you were the first expert of the day we had on Tech Tuesday. So thanks for that. And tell us a little about you, Click2 AI, and Engage Partners.
Okay, so basically, I'm here in South Florida. Click2.ai is basically a social media program. It's actually a productivity tool, communication, productivity, engagement. And what it allows people to do, it allows them to scale themselves and their business on social media with limited time, right? Because small to medium-sized businesses, most people that have services or products, they don't have a lot of time to be on social media. And you really need to be on social media because you can get the word out there rather inexpensively, especially if you do it yourself. And you can actually create a community with the tool. And it allows you to kind of respond to people and, you know, direct message them and add people as connections. And the thing is, you are at the computer controlling the whole thing. It just makes you a lot more efficient. So you control what it says, you can edit what it says. So it kind of gives you that authenticity that people want. It also has about 25 different settings that we put in as tones. Okay, so we researched from Stanford University how somebody sounds and what makes them, you know, how they sound, and we have all those options you can choose from within the product. So it's pretty cool. It will write content for you, and just, you know, really, it's basically a social media assistant. And Tech Hub members actually get a discount. I know you can go to Jeffry and.
Oh, thank you for that. I forgot to mention. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah.
The tool is free. We have a discount code, Job Seekers 3, JOBSEEKERS 3. Or if you forget it, give me a call. So use that discount code. Tell us, Robert, a little about Engage Partners. And actually, before you do that, you and I talked about your use of the Owwll app. You had an interesting story that you told me on what you did on a recent Sunday. Why don't you talk about a little with the Owwll app first?
Yep. So I actually was home on Sunday and my wife was away, and I was sitting outside hanging out, and I put the Owwll app on. And lo and behold, I got a phone call. I spoke with actually a couple of people that day, but one in particular I met with, and we really hit it off. We were on the phone for, I think, about 40 minutes. So all these things, and just actually when I had the Owwll app on just before, somebody actually had called in to me to talk about, you know, some stuff, and like the person before, well, two people before me, not Ashton, but I forget the gentleman's name.
Jeb Reynolds.
Yeah. So, you know, it's just interesting how it works so well. People are so friendly on it. and
Right.
it's amazing to me. It's just it does. It's interesting because there's a lot of communities, even on LinkedIn and stuff like that, what we do in business. But the Owwll app, it really, I think the group of people that are signing up with it are just genuine people that are, they want to either network, do business. There's all different types of people on it, which is great. So you get to talk to different people from different parts of the country. And it's just, everyone's been amazingly friendly. So, and it works great. I mean, I would highly suggest it, especially if you're going to do something like a startup or something like that, because, everyone is so willing and accepting
Right.
of ideas. You're not getting hung up on and stuff like that, which is really, really good. So I definitely highly recommend it.
The reason I like that story, and Robert and I were just
Yep.
kind of talking, we're generally focused, working 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, but there are times that what I call downtime, or you're just not, you're not busy. You want to be busy. So I just thought it was very interesting. Robert had some downtime on a Sunday. I think you probably went live more when available, more as a lark than anything to see what would happen. And lo and behold, he had some interesting people call him that were valuable from a business standpoint as well. So I just thought that story was great.
Yeah.
So I use
Yeah,
I use that
Go ahead,
story a
Jeff.
lot, Robert. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's funny because I think, people will make genuine friendships on the Owwll app as well.
Right.
Because it's just, it just, I think it's almost like an icebreaker in itself, right? Because if you're on it, people know that when you're available, and there's no, like, if you haven't been in business and maybe you have a fear of that, or, fear of calling people, I think it gives people good practice in talking to other business owners and getting ideas and just running stuff past people that might have a much different perspective than you do. So
Right.
it's just, and that you can't do necessarily, or I think you get a better preview when you're speaking to someone rather than, typing it out.
Right. Absolutely. Robert, we've got about a minute left. Why don't you give us a little information on Engage Partners, and then we'll wrap up the call.
Yep. Okay. So Engage Partners, we're a staffing firm here in South Florida, have an office in New York. We're about 40 recruiters. We have different specialties, manufacturing being one of them. We do a lot of work with like Viking. We do real specialized stuff, do IT, AI placements, pharmacy. We just have different groups. So if anyone needs some help finding some people, I'd love to connect.
Thank you, Robert. So Robert is active on Owwll. He's very active on LinkedIn. Why don't you spell your URL? I forgot to ask Jeb to spell his URL of your website.
Right. So you could go to click the number 2 .ai.
.com.
So, yep.
No. .ai. I'm sorry.
Yep. .ai. Yep.
I've totally messed that up.
AI.
Repeat that, Robert. I messed it up. Sorry.
Sure. It's click, CLICK 2 .ai.
Right.
So, yep. Gotcha.
Sorry about that. Not .com.
Yep.
Call Robert on Owwll. Look him up on LinkedIn. Thank you, Robert.
Thanks. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
So Fernando, being part of the Tech Hub, and which events have you found really helpful as far as your organization by joining, partnership with the Tech Hub?
Jeffry is and has been great in connecting us with a lot of different companies, a lot of different people. The biggest events that we've attended together have all actually been at the Levant Center,
right?
On Innovation Day and the different ones that they have every year. And like the South Florida Manufacturing Association, the Tech Hub is a great resource that we want to make sure companies and people know about, learn about, and utilize, right? At the end of the day, it's important for people to understand that there is help out there, right? The resources are there. You just need to understand where to look. And so it's a huge part of why we're here talking about this today, right? Why Tech Tuesdays exists. And it's important that people understand that there is stuff out there to help them. It's often a little obscure and a little weird to find, but that's what we're trying very hard to promote, all the different things, if you will, that Florida and specifically South Florida has to offer. to that note, I want to just make two little comments. The SFMA is a membership-based association, so there is a fee for a company to join, but it doesn't cost you anything to have a conversation. The other part of this is that once you do join, all of the services that I provide and my colleagues can provide, absolutely free. There's no cost to anything. You've already paid for this, both through the membership and your taxes.
Right.
It's a service that the government wants you to use because they're trying to promote manufacturing. By the way, this isn't new. This is not administration based. It's not party. Absolutely not. This has been around for 5 decades. The associations have been around for longer, but the organizations that look at and try to promote manufacturing in the United States, they've been here as part of mandate of let's bring our things back, make them here,
Yep.
and make sure we promote those jobs, that education, and the way of life that everybody was always and has always equated to the U.S.
Yeah,
Right.
and if somebody doesn't join the association, is there a way somebody can sign up to like a mailing list or to get updates before they join?
Yeah,
Just
of
to
course.
get familiar. What's the best way? What's the best website, or how do they get signed up?
So the easiest way, I think, would be to go to the sfma.org website. And there you can actually start looking already, even before you join, you talk to anybody, you can look at some of the events that are coming up, some of the things that are happening, the way that, the association can potentially help you as a company, both in the manufacturing space, but also in the provider space, right? To see if it's a fit. The last thing we want is for people to sign up just because. We want to create community. We want people involved. We want people that will go to the events, that will actually get something out of it. We want quantity over quality and people that are really taking advantage of it, right? I mean, lead a horse to water and all that stuff. We want to make sure that, they take advantage of everything or as much as they can, right? That the association has to offer, that FloridaMakes has to offer, because it's been proven that it works, right? The numbers don't really lie. We go in and we talk to these companies and we're like, all right, how did it impact you that you did all this work? Well, the stories are crazy. It can be a very small impact of like, well, we're a very small company. We have like $2 million in revenue, but you created a $50,000 impact just this year with, the 2 or 3 little things that we did. That's a huge amount of cash flow and money for that type of company.
Right.
And so it's very important that we work with the companies and the people that want to, bring about change and growth and want to actually do it. And we're here as a resource, because a lot of the times they're like, well, great, but I don't have an HR person. I don't know how to develop a workforce training plan. Well, that's why you call us, right? We come in and we help you with something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with automation and technology. It doesn't need to be like you're going to spend $1 million. It's not about that, right? It's creating a roadmap for you to grow with your business, with your needs, with your capacity, and all that stuff. And again, never to sell anything to anybody. We're not there to sell things to people. We're there to help them realize what they need and then help them achieve those. So it's very important.
Sometimes I pay my taxes. I know we all do. And given it's November 5th, 2024, it's an important day. Sometimes you wonder where your federal tax dollars go, since we don't pay a state income tax. This is an excellent program as a way of where your federal tax dollars go.
100%.
They ultimately flow back to these organizations. So it's a concrete example. I think we're kind of ending the end of the show. I want to apologize for starting late. We are live. We had a couple of technical issues. Thank you for watching. I'm going to go around the horn and let you, Fernando, mention anything in parting events. Any parting thoughts you'd like to mention before we wrap up the show?
Sure. Thanks of all. Thank you for the invite. This was great. It's an awesome way to promote technology. It's an awesome way to promote manufacturing and get the word out. Again, still people continue to think of Florida not as a manufacturing state. They think about, Florida man, the beaches, Disney. But more and more that narrative is changing, right? And some of the most important things that a state can show to its individuals is the quality of their life, what they can do in the state, but also the opportunities to work there. right? And manufacturing is a phenomenal space to work in. The average salary is higher than almost any other industry, and the possibilities for advancement are huge. Because you can start at just a regular operator type of position and then really grow into it. Like I said, there's just a ton of opportunity here, and the industries are awesome, right? And when you think about this, and part of the reason why I love my job so much is that I visit so many varied companies. I could be one day at a place that does, fluids for hydraulic systems, right? And the next day, I'm looking at a company making wires for rockets going into space. And it's wild, right? The amount of differences that we can go in and see. Something very simple to something very technically advanced. And so it's an awesome choice for career. There's a ton of ways to get into it. You don't necessarily even need to go to college for this. There's a ton of technical schools. There's a ton of after-school programs, apprenticeships, and a ton of things and ways that you can get involved with manufacturing. And that just creates a very vibrant community. To that effect, as a sort of final note on some of the more, let's call it, interesting events that are happening starting now and developing throughout next year. The SFMA and the South Florida Manufacturing Association is running something that we call the Manufacturer of the Year award ceremony. It's an awesome program that basically has been created out of the Malcolm Bullrich Award of Excellence to focus on companies that are in the manufacturing space and look specifically at their process. How do they do things? Why do they do things? Everything from their strategic planning to their leadership to the operations to your customer service, the type of technology that they utilize or don't, their supply chain, and all the different aspects that make a company successful. Now, this has been fashioned after the only award that is basically signed and handed to companies by the President of the United States. And we get the representatives here to do the same for the companies that end up at the finalists. And it's an awesome and very rigorous sort of event that we go in and we do a very deep dive on companies. So if you have any companies that manufacture anything, you can nominate them at the website, the SFMA.org website. They can get nominated, and we can share more information with them about what that whole thing entails. But it's an awesome way for companies to do a deep dive on themselves. It's 100% free of charge. You don't even need to be a member of the association to go through it. And it's a great way to introduce them to the things that the association can provide them. It'll give them benchmarking. It'll give them recommendations, opportunities for growth. And it's a really, really awesome in-depth sort of process that we go through. And actually this year, because, we've been doing this for about 6 years, more or less. No, almost 8. And this year we've decided that we're actually putting the SFMA through it. So as an organization that runs this, we're actually going to take the whole assessment ourselves and score ourselves against, our very, very high standards and see how we as an organization can continue to evolve, grow, and provide all these different services and aspects that we do bring to the community. So I encourage anybody that knows manufacturer to just say, you know what, I'm going to nominate them. And if they don't accept, that's fine. But I think the opportunity is there. And, the whole thing, if you think about the Bullrich Award, to even apply for it, it's about $50,000. That's just an application. You might not even get accepted. And so this thing, obviously free, provides you and companies that are in that space with a lot of good stuff that they can then come back and say, you know what, this is awesome. I'm going to use this as our own internal development plan and apply some of these things. And the companies that take it seriously and go through it, they show tremendous growth year over year. Just on the fact that they have a very determined and detailed crew of examiners that go in and look at it from all sorts of different aspects of businesses. And, it gives an awesome perspective on what do we do? Because at the end of the day, you don't need to be a millionaire. You need to be a crazy, awesome company. You can be a very small company and still go through it. It's totally, divided into categories of size. And it gives you an amazing roadmap for things to do better and be better.
Okay. Thank you, Fernando. Thanks for that. Thanks for being the expert of the day. Denis, any parting thoughts?
Yeah, I heard a rumor that Elon Musk is going to be your event. Is that true, or is that we keep it a secret for now?
Let's keep it a secret for now.
Speaking of the rockets, rocket scientists. Okay, no, yeah, thanks for joining us again this week. We look forward to seeing everybody next week on Tech Tuesdays. Jeffrey, take it away.
Thank you again. Sorry we started a little late. Thank you for everyone watching. Couple of quick reminders. Next Thursday, November 14th, in support of entrepreneurship and startups, we have our annual event, Ignite. Again, Thursday, November 14th at the Boca Raton Innovation Campus. It's on Eventbrite. Please register. Any questions, give me a call. We talked a little about Tech Talent Fest, supporting the tech talent pipeline here in the U.S. and South Florida. That's going to be Monday, November 18th at Florida International University in Miami. It's also on Eventbrite. Any questions, reach out to Fernando, myself, or Dennis on the Owwll app. Thank you, Steph. Thank you, Jason. Another great Tech Tuesday, and we'll be here next week. Thank you again.
Thanks,
Have a great
guys.
day.